Private prisons. The industry that costs the American taxpayer millions of dollars every year that you didn't know about before you clicked on this video. Private prisons currently hold around 90,000 inmates in the United States today, which makes up about 9% of the total population living in the United States prison system today. The largest companies in this space are the GEO Group and CoreCivic, which make about $4.4 billion every year. Now in this video, I'm going to be going over the history of private prisons, how do they actually make money, and are private prisons worth it today? Part 1, the history of private prisons. Now before you clicked on this video, you may never have heard of private prisons, but private prisons actually date back to 1844 when prisoners in a Louisiana prison started working at a nearby clothing factory, making money for said clothing factory. CoreCivic took the first major step in the private prison industry in 1984 by opening the first major private prison in Hamilton County, Tennessee. The largest contributor to the rise in private prisons in the modern age has been the war on drugs. Looking at the data since the start of the war on drugs in the United States, the number of prisoners over time has dramatically increased. And at the same time, we have seen the government want to spend less, which has led to incredible growth for the private prison industry. One important note before I continue is private prisons also operate other types of detention facilities, such as temporary ICE centers and other government use facilities. Part 2, how do they make money? For most private prisons in the United States, their primary revenue is government contracts. The government pays a certain dollar amount per prisoner per day to most of these private prison facilities. So if you look at what the profit equation could look like, which is revenue minus expenses equals profit, just as a reminder, in our hypothetical example, we're going to say the government pays $100 a day per prisoner, and in this given prison, there's 1,000 prisoners. The expense to hold that prisoner is $60 a day. That could be going to guards, administration, food, pretty much anything. This hypothetical prison would make $40,000 in profit per day. Real life numbers are a little hard to get because the data can be skewed or not publicly available, but some data suggests that the average per day rate of a medium security prisoner in the United States today is around $50 a day. Part 3, are private prisons actually worth it? In order to understand if private prisons are actually worth it on an economic level, we need to look at some current examples. One of which is the state of Georgia. We're going to be looking at what it costs per prisoner to run a government facility versus a private facility and the difference. In the state of Georgia, according to the most recent numbers, it costs $44.51 per day for a government-run facility, whereas private costs $45.81. This is a difference about $1.30 more expensive for the private sector. Another state we can look at is Arizona. Arizona costs $48 a day for government-run facilities, but $55 a day for privately run facilities. That's a difference of $7 in favor of the government-run facilities. Another example we can look at is the state of Florida. A recent study showed that 3 out of 4 private prisons failed to save the taxpayer any money at all, much less hit their 7% state-mandated minimum in savings. Another state that had a study is Ohio. The study found that private prisons, on average, cost around 12% more to the taxpayer than the same government-run institutions. But that's not all. There's one more state that still has a significant amount of private prison use, which is New Mexico. From 2001 to 2006, the cost of these private prisons rose by 52%, while the prison population only increased by 21% in the same time period. Another factor to consider is that a rumor has it that these private prisons also cherry-pick their prison populations, which means they pick the best, most well-behaved prisoners out of the general public, which means they should be easier to control. In the end, private prisons fail to save the taxpayers any money in any of our most recent modern examples. What do you think? Do you think private prisons still have a place in the United States today? Are they still worth it?